We're back. We're back. Hope you guys had a Merry Christmas. Hopefully you had a Merry Christmas. And hopefully you have a Happy New Year. It's almost New Year's. Hopefully stock prices going down don't affect how you feel. Because, probably not too happy right now, if it does. Today we're watching Warren Buffett. There's a lot of clips and stuff. So it could be interesting. I don't know. I'm not going to watch like all the annual meetings or like the CNBC interviews. I think we'll leave those. But there's a section in here called Buffett A to Z. And it's just got like different categories of stuff he talks about. Is that all of it? Is there only like 4 things? There's got to be more, right? Or I guess there's more than 4 things, but... What's up, Muma? Hope you had a good Christmas, bro. I pulled a Zapdos over the weekend on GameStop Power Packs. It was complete garbage. It's complete garbage. Cool Zapdos, though. Garbage pull for the $100. You're the first person I thought of when I pulled the Zapdos. I guess there's only like 8 things. Are there a lot of videos, at least, in each one? Not really. It's like a 1999 Zapdos. It's actually pretty sick. It's just a PSA 7, so that's why it's so trash. Not the best. Maybe this isn't the best video idea. I thought there was more. How much is like or how long is a video?
I know.
That's like 3 minutes. So I can either watch it all in one video or make separate. I think I'm just going to watch it all for one video and make it all one video. It's probably going to be the best move, maybe. I don't know. I bought more GME. Same. I only have like a few thousand left. So hopefully it bounces and we can make a trade. That'd be nice. Before the end of the year would be preferred. Because once the year ends, I don't know if I'm going to be selling at all. I don't know. I don't know. They don't have as many clips as I thought they would, so I guess I'll just do it all in one video. It's looking like. Because I don't think I'd be able to watch the CNBC interviews. CNBC would probably clap me. Most likely. There's a lot of... I could make... I don't know what I want to do here. It's cool they have annual meetings going all the way back to 1994. It would be cool to watch every single one of these, but the annual meetings are like 4 hours long. Ugh, good lord. That would be a pain to watch. But I bet there's so much good information inside of this. Yeah, I don't know. Lots of good info with Mr. Buffett here. A lot of valuable information. Well, a lot of valuable mindset information, I guess I should say. They have a documentary. How long is this? 43 minutes? Oh. See, the CNBC stuff, I don't think we'd be able to watch. But, like, the clips and the meetings, I feel like you'd be able to watch. So yeah, I guess we do Buffett A to Z. I'm just trying to think how I would like. I don't know. The new Charles guy? Wait, what? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? There's not very many clips, but whatever. I guess we'll just run it and see what happens. I don't know how I'd even start the video. Like, I don't want to say where I'm getting all these clips from. I don't think that's a good idea. Yeah, the CEO pay one should be good. Crypto, they hate crypto, so that's whatever. The CEO pay one should be interesting though. Yeah, I don't know how to start this video. Whatever. Let's see, 358 million U.S. air investment in 1989 to spending billions for big stakes in country's largest airlines in 2016. Warren Buffett has covered a lot of ground with an industry he once called a death trap for investors. I'm sure they made funny jokes about crypto. I mean, it's funny watching it now because they were so negative about crypto, and then, you know, we lived through the craziest crypto run in probably ever. It probably will never happen again, most likely. So it's kind of funny seeing how wrong they were, but it's relevant now because I don't think you'll ever see crypto run like that ever again. I really don't. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I just have a feeling you're never going to see that again. See, I don't know how I'd even start this video. Maybe we don't start with the airlines. That's not that interesting. Maybe we start back. Maybe we go backwards. Every year, tens of thousands of Berkshire Hathaway shareholders come to Omaha to see Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger answer their questions. Unlike almost all other corporate annual meetings, however, the shareholders also come to be entertained. Buffett and Munger don't disappoint, showering their audience with funny and astute quips and stories about investment strategy, business and personal relationships, how to succeed in life, and more. So these are some of the most popular clips.
What is your next goal in life now that you're the richest man in the country?
That's
easy. What is your next...
Here, I think I know how I would. So these are some of the best clips of Warren Buffett. Let's check them out.
What is your next goal in life now that you're the richest man in the country?
That's easy. It's to be the
see,
oldest man in the country.
I gotta turn up the volume on the OBS here. Boom. All right. So these are some of the best clips of Warren Buffett, starting with the wit of Warren Buffett. I am 1/4 Coca-Cola.
What is your next goal in life now that you're the richest man in the country?
That's easy. It's to be the oldest man in the country.
We have a big advantage.
He's pretty old.
As contrasted to virtually almost every other company, we now and in the future are willing, eager to buy parts of wonderful businesses or all of them. I mean, most managements have most investors are limited to buying parts of businesses, and most managers psychologically are geared to owning all of something that they can run themselves. It's like, I think Woody Allen said some years ago, it's the advantage of being bisexual is that you double.
Oh, it's muted. I was muted. My bad. My bad. What's up, Varley? Hope you're doing good.
What is your next goal in life now?
Okay. Oh, man. All right. Let's get it. So these are some of the highlights of Warren Buffett. This is starting with the wit of Warren Buffett.
What is your next goal in life now that you're the richest man in the country?
That's easy. It's to be the oldest man in the country.
We have a big advantage in that, as contrasted to virtually almost every other company, we now and in the future are willing, eager to buy parts of wonderful businesses.
Hold up. I got one more thing I want to try before we continue. My bad. I just want to see something here. What if I go over here and then hide that and then play?
All of them. I mean, most managements.
Oh, that actually looks good.
Most investors are limited to buying.
So I'm gonna do that instead. That looks way better. It's a little weird having my webcam on the other side of the screen, but I like the little dates they have in the bottom. I want to keep that in. Then people at least know where it's from, I guess. Oh, ow. Okay, I'm ready to go now. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to rock. Do I even need an intro? I should probably just start it with Warren Buffett talking. That's probably the best idea. Nobody wants to listen to me talk. Let's be real.
What is your next goal in life now that you're the richest man in the country?
That's easy. It's to be the oldest man in the country.
We have a big advantage in that, as contrasted to virtually almost every other company, We now and in the future are eager to buy parts of wonderful businesses or all of them. I mean, most managements most investors are limited to buying parts of businesses, and most managers psychologically are geared to owning all of something that they can run themselves. It's like, I think Woody Allen said some years ago, it's the advantage of being bisexual is that it doubles your chances of a date on Saturday night. And
He just said that. There's no way he just said that. That was fucking hilarious. Holy shit. Buffett is a G, bro. That was funny. That was funny, bro.
we can go either direction in that respect.
If somebody tells us the business is going to change a lot, in Wall Street they love to tell you that, that's great opportunity. They don't think it's a great opportunity when Wall Street itself is going to change a lot, incidentally. But it's a great opportunity. We don't think it's an opportunity at all. I mean, it scares the hell out of us because we don't know how things are going to change. We are looking, when people are chewing gum, we have a pretty good idea how they chewed it 20 years ago and how they'll chew it 20 years from now. And we don't really see a lot of technology going into the art of the chew, But Ben Graham used the example of Mr. Market, which is and we've used it. I've copied it in the report. I copy from all the good writers. And Ben said, just imagine that when you buy a stock that in effect, you've bought into a business where you have this obliging partner who comes around every day and offers you a price at which you'll either buy or sell. And the price is identical. And no one ever gets that in a private business where daily you get a buy-sell offer by a party. But in the stock market you get it. That's a huge advantage. And it's a bigger advantage if this partner of yours is a heavy drinking manic depressive. I mean, it takes the interests of parents, and frankly, it takes the interests of the well-to-do in the school system to keep a first-class school system. I've said that to some extent a good public school system is a lot like virginity. It can be preserved but not restored. We are looking for people that have a passion that extends beyond their paycheck every week or every month for their business. Beyond this passion, we're looking for intelligence, we're looking for energy, and we're looking for integrity. If they don't have the last, the first two will kill you, because if you hire somebody without integrity, you really want them to be dumb and lazy, don't you? I mean, being put on the comp committee of American corporations, as I've said, they're looking for chihuahuas and not Great Danes or Dobermans. Yeah. And I hope I'm not insulting any of my friends that are on comp committees.
You're insulting the dogs.
No. You just got to fill up your mind with various competing thoughts and sort them out as to what really makes sense over time. And then once you've done a lot of that, I think you have to jump in the water, because investing on paper and doing, and investing with real money, is like the difference between reading a romance novel and doing something else. So I always tell the kids that come visit me, I tell them, go to work for an organization you admire or an individual you admire. That means that many of them become self-employed, but it's been, a death trap for investors ever since Orville took off. I mean, as I've said, if there had been a capitalist at Kitty Hawk, he should have shot down Orville and done us all a favor. I sit here as somebody who, in the last 30 years, 1/4 of all the calories I've consumed come from Coca-Cola. And that is not an exaggeration. I am 1/4 Coca-Cola. I'm not sure which quarter. I think there's a lot to be said about being happy with what you're doing. If I'd been eating broccoli and Brussels sprouts and all that all my life, I don't think I'd live as long. Every meal I would approach thinking, it's like going to jail or something. And Charlie is always the one that gets the girl. And he has one explanation for that, but I think mine is more accurate, that As you know, every mother in this country tells her daughter at an early age, if you're choosing between two very old and very rich guys, pick the one that's older.
I have avoided all my life compensation consultants. To me, it's I hardly can find the words to express my contempt.
I will say this, if the board hires a compensation consultant after I go, I will come back.
Bro, Buffett's funny, dude. Holy shit. Buffett is hilarious. I don't watch him very often, but I just forget how funny he is. He's so funny, bro.
I have a friend whose grandmother used to say that she couldn't understand why people got into envy, jealousy, because it was the only one of the sins that you could never possibly have any fun at. But generally speaking, on Wall Street, I think a lot of people have had the wrong kind of grandmothers. I think few business operations have ever been constructed to require so little continuing intelligence in corporate headquarters. An idiot who was willing just to sit here would have a very good record long after the present incumbents were dead. I think it would be unreasonable to expect that a successor would be as good at making new investments as Warren has been in the past. Well, that's just too damn bad. If you mix the mathematics of the chain letter or the Ponzi scheme with some legitimate development like the development of the internet, you are mixing something which is wretched and irrational and has bad consequences with something that has very good consequences. But you know, if you mix raisins with turds, they're still turds.
That's why they have me write the annual report.
I would rather throw a viper down my shirt front than hire a compensation consultant. You want to develop a good character and good mental habits, and you want to learn from your mistakes, every single one, as you go along. And of course, you particularly want to avoid evil or seriously irrational people, particularly if they are attractive members of the opposite sex. That can
Charlie knows more about this. The expert.
Our situation in looking for this help reminds me of an apocryphal tale about Mozart. And a young man of 25 or so once asked to see Mozart, and he said, "I'm thinking of starting to write symphonies, and I'd like to get your advice." And Mozart said, "Well, you're too young to write symphonies." And the guy says, "But you were writing them when you were 10 years old." And Mozart says, "Yes," he says, "but I wasn't asking anybody else for advice how to do it." And so if you remind yourself of young Mozart, why, you're the man for us. Competency is a relative concept. And what a lot of us need, including the one speaking, is what I needed to get ahead was to compete against idiots. And luckily, there's a large supply. And Warren, if people weren't so often wrong, we wouldn't be so rich.
He's finally explained it to me. Okay.
I do think they created something that was probably unwise. They got countries in there that shouldn't have been there. You can't form a business partnership with your shiftless, drunken brother-in-law, you know. I mean, You have to make your partnerships with somebody else. And I think they lowered their standards a little, and it's caused strains.
I think it, everything here is off the record, understand?
What you don't want to be is like the man, and they held his funeral, and the minister said, now it's the time for somebody to say something nice about the deceased. And nobody came forward. And nobody came forward. He said, surely somebody can say something nice about the deceased. And nobody came forward. And finally one man came up and he said, well, he said, his brother was worse.
Yeah.
Holy shit, these are funny, bro. Charlie's funny too. Oh man. This is awesome. This is fucking awesome, bro.
I've said about learning from your mistakes, the best thing to do is learn from other guys' mistakes. I mean, it's like, Patton used to say, it's an honor to die for your country. Make sure the other guy gets the honor, so our approach is really to try and learn vicariously. We have no predetermined course of action whatsoever at Berkshire. We have no strategic planning department. We don't have any strategic plan. We react to what we think are opportunities.
I also want to say proudly that we have no mission statement.
No. No, the important thing, even in your work, I mean, is to an extreme extent, it seems to me, is who you do it with. I mean, you can have, if you're going to spend 8 hours a day working, the most important thing isn't how much money you make. It's how you feel during those 8 hours in terms of the people you're interacting with and how interesting what you're doing is and all of that. Well, I consider myself incredibly lucky in that respect. I can't think of anything I'd rather do, and I can't think of any group of people I'd rather do it with. And if you asked me to trade away a very significant percentage of my net worth, either for some extra years or being able to do during those years what I want to do, I'd do it in a second. I think it's way more important what you've thought about for 2 years than what you've practiced for 10 years. So if there's a divergence in techniques applied, I would rather be with the one that I'm philosophically in sync with. There's certain qualities that you admire in other people, that you find likable, that and cause you to want to be around certain people. And then look at those qualities and say to yourself, which of these is it physically or mentally impossible for me to have? And the answer will be none. When you get to be my age, you will be successful if the people that you would hope to have love you do love you. I mean, if Charlie and I know a few people that have got a lot of money and they get testimonial dinners and they get their names on buildings, and the truth is nobody loves them. And, not their family, not the people who named the buildings after them. It's sad. And unfortunately, it's something you can't buy. I mean, Charlie and I have talked a lot of times, if we could just buy $1 million worth of love, it would be so much more satisfactory than to try and be lovable. But it doesn't work that way. One of the interesting things about investment is that there's no degree of difficulty factor. I mean, if you're going to go diving in the Olympics and try and win a gold medal, you get paid more in effect for certain kinds of dives than others because they're more difficult and they properly adjust for that factor. But in terms of investing, there is no degree of difficulty. If something is staring you right in the face and the easiest decision in the world, the payoff can be huge. And we get paid not for jumping over 7-foot bars, but for stepping over 1-foot bars. First of all, I'd say marry the right person. And I'm serious about that. It will make more difference in your life. It'll change your aspirations, all kinds of things. So it is enormously important who you marry. Beyond that, I would say that do what you would do if you were in my position, where the money means nothing to you. You don't have that much competition in this world. In terms of generally advancing within organizations, I think you'd be surprised at how little competition you really have if you start thinking like you would if you were an owner of the place and working like you would if you were an owner of the place, and pretty soon you may be running something. We have a letter that goes out every roughly 2 years. It starts off basically and it says, look, we've got all the money we need. We'd like to make more money. We love making money, but we don't have a shred more reputation than we need, and we won't trade reputation for money. I don't think you necessarily have to get a bad result or have children that don't have any incentives simply because their parents are rich. I really think if you're rich and your kids turn out to have no incentives, I don't think you should point at them. I think you should probably point at yourself. The safest thing, well, the greatest asset to own is your own abilities. I mean, that no matter what happens in the economy or with currency, if you develop your own talents, I tell the college students that the best thing to have is develop your own talents. I really think if you want to be a good evaluator of businesses, an investor, you really ought to figure out a way without too much personal damage to run a lousy business for a while. I think you learn a whole lot more about business by actually struggling with a terrible business for a couple of years than you learn by getting into a very good one where the business itself is so good that you can't mess it up.
Bro, this is sick. This is fun. I might be able to make like multiple videos out of this, but we'll see. There's a lot more here than I thought there was going to be.
If you asked me to name businesses that were half ruined or ruined by bloat, I mean, I could just rattle off name after name after name. It's gotten fashionable to assume that downsizing is wrong. Well, it may have been wrong to let the business get so fat that it eventually had to downsize. Life is a whole series of opportunity costs. You got to marry the best person who is convenient to find who'll have you. Investment is much the same sort of a process. All you succeed in doing in your life is to get early rich from passive holding of little bits of paper, and you get better at only that for all your life. It's a failed life. Life is more than being shrewd at passive wealth accumulation. I think that takes a certain amount of what an old Omaha friend used to call uncommon sense. He used to say there is no common sense. When people say common sense, they mean uncommon sense. If you make yourself a very reliable person and stay reliable all your life, faithfully doing whatever you engage to do, it will be very hard for you to fail at anything you want. As sure as God made little green apples, this is going to cause a lot of trouble in due course. As long as it keeps expanding and ballooning and so on, and the convulsions are minor, it can just go on and on. But eventually, there will be a big denouement. They say, well, the whole secret of investment is diversification. That's the mantra. They've got it exactly back-assward. The whole secret of investment is to find places where it's safe and wise to non-diversify. It's just that simple. Diversification is for the know-nothing investor. It's not for the professional. If you think your IQ is 160 and it's 150, you're a disaster. Much better a guy with 130 that's operating well within himself. It's pragmatism. We've had enough good sense when something is working very well to keep doing it. So I'd say we're demonstrating what might be called the fundamental algorithm of life. Repeat what works. Well, the main problem was that as things got crazier and crazier, the government could have intervened by pulling away the punch bowl before everybody was totally drunk. And instead, the government increased the proof. And this was not a good idea. But it's hard to get governments in a democracy to be pulling away the punch bowl from voters who want to get drunk. Some of the stuff, you'll find an activist who is not what you'd want to marry into the family, going after a company you would never buy into. And when that happens, it reminds me of Oscar Wilde's definition of fox hunting. He said, the pursuit of the uneatable by the unspeakable. Reputation you get over a long period of time. Very few people are like Charles Lindbergh, where you just suddenly have a great reputation. Most of us have to acquire one very slowly, and that was true in Berkshire's case. And in any individual, you just have to get the best reputation you can in the years you're allotted and the time available. And it may work out well, it may work out poorly, but it's a wise investment. I see all the time opportunities come to people where it's the credibility they've gotten in the past that causes them to have the new opportunity. So I think hardly anything is more important than behaving well as you go through life.
There's some bangers in here. There's some bangers.
In terms of giving you a number on intrinsic value, I don't want to spoil your fun. I mean, you really should work that one out for yourself. Charlie is the expert on intrinsic value. Do you have any comment for him, Charlie?
Well, your attitude on that subject reminds me of a famous headmaster who used to address the graduating class every year, and he'd say, you know, he says, 5% of you people are going to end up criminals. And he says, I know exactly who you are. And he said, but I'm not going to tell you because it would deprive your lives of a sense of excitement.
You know, at one time or another, I've said everything I know and a good bit more. So I've never felt compelled to do. I really feel that the annual reports are sort of a book on the installment system. Plus, I think very few people write two books, and I have this kind of unwarranted optimism, I guess, that the best is always yet to come, and that there are a lot more interesting things are going to happen. And I would hate to preclude commenting on those. So I think it's going to be a few years, but I may get around to it at some point. But I think maybe it'd be a bad sign if it happened, because it might be that I really thought that what I was writing about was more important than what was going to happen next. Charlie, are you going to write a book?
No, but your comment about why you are unable to write a book reminds me of the Middle Western fellow who left an unfinished manuscript. And he apologized for not finishing his book, which was entitled Famous Middle Western Sons of Bitches. And he said he was always meeting a new one, and therefore he could never finish the book.
As a courtesy, Charlie and I are leaving each other out of the book that we write. I noticed you were from Morganton, North Carolina. We have a business there, Carolina Shoe. We made work boots, and I gave a talk at University of North Carolina some time ago. In fact, I think they have a tape of it still. And afterwards, I'd mentioned in the talk that we had this business in Morganton. And one of the students came up to me afterwards, and there were a number of them, and I shook his hand, and making idle conversation, I said, where are you from? And he said, I'm from Morganton. And I said, do you know Carolina Shoe? And he thought a second. He said, I don't know her, but I think I know her family. Never forgotten that fellow. I want to thank my daughter, Suze, who does millions of things for me. She does draw the line occasionally. A few years ago, we have a dinner at Garot's the day after the meeting, and we were the whole family was there having dinner. The place was packed, and there was a big line that had formed outside. Be sure not to go to Garot's unless you have a reservation tomorrow, because they're sold out. But the big line had formed, and it started raining cats and dogs. And a waitress came to me. We were eating. Waitress said, I got to tell you, she said that it's raining like crazy outside, and there's a long line, and Michael Eisner is standing out there getting soaked. So I turned to Suze, and Michael and Jane are friends of mine, good friends, and I said to Suze, why don't you go out there and help them out before they get drenched? And she looked at me and said, I've waited in line at Disneyland. If I personally had a choice between an index fund or Berkshire at present prices, I would rather own Berkshire. But I wouldn't be unhappy if you told me I had to leave all my money in an index fund for the rest of my life. But I like Berkshire better. Charlie?
Well, I like it a lot better, and I'd be very unhappy if I had to own an index fund. My ambitions are larger. I don't think the average return of a skilled investor over the next 50 years is going to be as good after all factors as it was over the last 50 years. So I think reduced expectations are the best defense any investor has. And after that, I think Berkshire's a pretty good bet.
Charlie's big on lowering expectations.
Absolutely. That's the way I got married. My wife lowered her expectations.
And he lived up to them. I feel terrific. And I always feel terrific, incidentally. That's not news. This is a really minor event. And Charlie will tell you how minor it is.
Well, as a matter of fact, I rather resent all this attention and sympathy Warren is getting. I probably have more prostate cancer than he does.
He's bragging.
I don't know because I don't let them test for it.
He's not kidding.
At any rate, I want the sympathy.
I probably shouldn't tell you this when Charlie is having a little trouble there on those last two words. I get a little worried about Charlie. Don't know whether I should talk about this, but I thought maybe he was losing his hearing, and I didn't want to confront him with it. I mean, we've been pals for a long time, so I went to the doctor and I said, Doc, I've got this wonderful partner, but I think maybe his hearing is going on him, and I don't want to talk to him about it. I mean, how do you say that to somebody you've known that long? And what should I do? He says, well, you stand across the room, talk to him in a normal course of tone of voice, and let me know what happens. So the next time I was with Charlie, I stood across the room and I said, Charlie, I think we ought to buy General Motors at 35. Do you agree? Not a flicker. I go halfway across the room. I said, Charlie, I think we ought to buy General Motors at 35. Do you agree? Nothing. Get right next to him, in his ear. Charlie, I think we ought to buy General Motors at 35. Do you agree? He said, for the third time, yes. So speak up, speak up.
Holy shit, this is fucking good, bro. That's awesome. That's fucking awesome, bro. There's some good ones in there. That was like a 30-minute video, too. That's great. There's a lot of content. I'm excited. Warren Buffett's last day is on the 31st, so this is probably what we're going to be doing for the whole week, is just watching Warren Buffett shit. Oh, there's some funny ones in there, though. There's a good one in that last one where Charlie was like, he would be upset if he had to be in an index fund. And that's literally how I feel. Like, index funds, of course, are like the easiest, probably best investment, but personally, I've never been interested in investing in index funds. I've always wanted to find something like GameStop that I could just put all my money in and not really care what happens. Speaking of GameStop, isn't it down a lot today? Oh yeah, down quite a bit. Down quite a bit. Still selling off. And then there was another funny one. I forget. I think it was this.
I've said.
Can you not fast forward?
I mean, think of any group. The divergence.
Somewhere over here. Yeah, it was this one, I think. It's like he's saying that he would rather follow someone who's, I forget exactly what he says.
Way more important what you've thought about for 2 years than what you practiced for 10 years.
Yeah, that. What you've thought about for the past 2 years and not what you've practiced for 10 years. Especially in the market. There's a lot of people that don't follow that. They're just doing the same shit they've been doing for the past 10 years. There's another funny one too. I forgot what it was though. Oh yeah, he was like talking about we wouldn't be so rich if there weren't so many stupid people in the world. That shit's funny. That's funny. All right. That's great though. That was awesome. So I guess we're going backwards. So I guess we're going technology. For the majority of his career, Warren Buffett avoided buying stock in tech companies, saying he doesn't understand them well enough to predict where they'll be in the future. He changed his course, however, when he invested in IBM in 2011 and Apple in 2016. All right.
We think we have some ability to find businesses where we don't think change.
I forgot to hit record, my bad. Forgot to hit record. Okay. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Nobody's typing in the chat for some reason, but there's 10 people here. So I guess maybe my chat's just bots, I don't know. Hopefully you guys had a good Christmas, though, if there's any real people out there.
We think we have some ability to find businesses where we don't think change is going to be very important. We think we know in a general way what the soft drink industry or the shaving industry or the candy business is going to look like 10 or 20 years from now. We think Microsoft is a sensational company run by the best of managers, but we don't have any idea what that world is going to look like in 10 or 20 years. Now, if you're going to bet on somebody that is going to see out and do what we can't do ourselves, I'd rather bet on Bill Gates than anybody else. But that, I don't want to bet on anybody else. I mean, in the end, we want to understand ourselves where we think a business is going. And if somebody tells us the business is going to change a lot, in Wall Street they love to tell you that, that's great opportunity. They don't think it's a great opportunity when Wall Street itself is going to change a lot, incidentally. But it's a great opportunity. We don't think it's an opportunity at all. I mean, it scares the hell out of us because we don't know how things are going to change. We are looking, when people are chewing gum, we have a pretty good idea how they chewed it 20 years ago and how they'll chew it 20 years from now. And we don't really see a lot of technology going into the art of the chew, But, so that, as long as we don't have to make those other decisions, why in the world should we? I mean, if I had all kinds of things we don't know. And so why go around trying to bet on things we don't know when we can bet on the simple things?
They played that one in the last thing. I'm betting on Ryan Cohen, baby. I'm betting on Ryan Cohen. What's up, Isaiah? Listening, just working. Nice. Working out? Hell yeah. What are you hitting right now? I hit back today. It was great. It was great.
With the internet, I think we're seeing a change that has not been seen in the last 500 years. As humans, we haven't seen something that is as dramatic and as profound that's going to come upon us. If, let's say, a John Doerr at Kleiner Perkins approached you and said that they were starting, let's say, $1 billion early stage or later stage internet investment fund that Kleiner would manage, would you consider that, would you consider participating in that investment to be within your circle of competence if it were offered at terms that looked attractive?
I agree with the first part of what you said. I mean, I'm not sure that it'll necessarily will be the most important thing in the last 500 years in the commercial world, but it could well be, and if it isn't, it's right up there. I mean, we talked about this last year and maybe even the year before. I mean, it is a huge development, and I would say that Charlie and I both understand the process of early investment / promotion probably as well as anyone. We haven't participated in it. There's certain things we don't even like about it, but we do understand it, right, Charlie? And I would say that no, we would not have an interest in investing in the fund. We do not necessarily regard the internet. There's no question, if you're in the early stages of promotion, and particularly if you've got a reputation as a successful in that, but in this case it wouldn't make much difference because the whole field has gone wild, you will make a lot of money selling to the next stage and the next stage and the next stage. But in terms of picking out businesses that are going to do wonderfully as businesses, not as stocks for a while, but as businesses, I don't think it's necessarily so easy in the internet world. And I would say that if you were to ask some very top names in the field to name the next 5 companies out of the chute, or the next 10 companies out of the chute, and predict that one of them will earn, say, the $200 million I used as a threshold 6 or 7 years from now, I'm not so sure if they gave you a list that they would name a single one. That doesn't mean they might not make a lot of money by being early investors in them because they sell out to the next group and so on. But in the end, they have to succeed as businesses. And if you will succeed as businesses, the internet will have a huge impact on the world. But I'm not so sure that makes it an easy investment decision. Charlie?
Well, at least it's not an easy investment decision for us. And that's what we're looking for.
You got a date tonight, bro? Shh. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. That's awesome. That's awesome, bro. I love that. I hope it goes well. I hope it goes well.
IBM is a tech company, and you don't buy tech companies. Why have you been buying IBM?
Yeah, well, I didn't buy railroad companies for a long time either. It's interesting. I've had 2 interesting incidents in my life connected with IBM, but I probably read the annual report of IBM every year for 50 years. And this year it came in on a Saturday, and I read it, and I got a different slant on it, which I then proceeded to do some checking out of. But I read it through a different lens.
What's the different lens?
Well,
What's the different slant?
Just like I did with the railroads. And incidentally, the company laid it out extremely well. I don't think there's any company that I can think of, big company, that's done a better job of laying out where they're going to go and then having gone there. They have laid out a roadmap, and I should have paid more attention to it 5 years ago, where they were going to go in the 5 years ending in 2010. Now they've laid out another roadmap for 2015. They've done an incredible job. First, Lou Gerstner, when he came in, he saved the company from bankruptcy. I read his book a second time, actually, after I read the annual report then. Who Said Elephants Can't Dance? I read it when it first came out, and then I went back and reread it. And then we went around all of our companies to see how their IT departments functioned and why they made the decisions they made. And I just came away with a different view of the position that IBM holds within IT departments and why they hold it, and the stickiness and a whole bunch of things. And also I read very carefully what Sam Palmisano, yes, has said about where they're going to be, and he's delivered big time. Another thing I would say about IBM too is that a few years back they had 240 million options outstanding. Now they probably are down to about 30 million. They treat their stock with reverence, which I find is unusual among big companies. They are thinking about the shareholder.
Does this mean that this is a new era and you're going to be looking at a lot of tech stocks? And I guess chief among them, would you consider Microsoft?
Well, Microsoft is a special case because Microsoft is off bounds to us because of my friendship with Bill. And if we spent 7 months buying Microsoft stock, and during that period they announced a repurchase or increase of the dividend or an acquisition, people would say, you've been getting inside information from Bill. So I have told Todd and Ted, and I apply it myself, that we do not ever buy a share of Microsoft. I think Microsoft is attractive, but we will never buy Microsoft. People will just assume I knew something, and I don't. But they would assume it, and they would assume Bill talked to me, and he wouldn't have. But there's no sense putting yourself in that position.
But
I can say I've never met Sam, but I can't say I've never met Bill.
But does this change the rules of the game that you would actually look at technology stocks?
I look at everything, but most things I decide I can't figure out their future.
Warren,
their economic future.
This is more of a. Do you look at this more as almost a service company now, rather than a hardware software company? Though it's almost not. It's not high tech anymore. Almost.
It's a company that helps IT departments do their job better. And if you think about it, I don't want to push the analogy too far because it could be pushed too far. But we work with a given auditor, we work with a given law firm. That doesn't mean we're happy every minute of every day about everything they do, but it is a big deal for a big company to change auditors, change law firms. The IT departments, we've got dozens and dozens of IT departments at Berkshire. I don't know how they run. I mean, but we went around and asked them, and you find out that they very much get working hand in glove with suppliers, and that doesn't mean things won't change, but it does mean that there's a lot of continuity to it. And then I think as you go around the world, IBM in the most recent quarter reported double-digit gains in 40 countries. Now, I would imagine if you're in some country around the world and you're developing your IT department, you're probably going to feel more comfortable with IBM than with many companies.
These ones aren't as good, but there's a lot more of them.
Given that you're now in IBM, are there any other entrenched leaders in technology that are, to use one of your terms, inevitable, in the same way that Coke and Gillette were? For example, is Google inevitable? Is it reminiscent of the advertising agencies you owned in the 1970s, i.e. a toll bridge on all digital spending that's highly likely to keep growing over time? What are the one or two things about Google, for example, that you think are real risks? And what about Apple?
Well, those are extraordinary companies, obviously. And they're both huge companies. They make lots of money. They earn fantastic returns on capital. They look very tough to dislodge where they have their strengths. I would not be at all surprised to see them be worth a lot more money 10 years from now, but I wouldn't want to buy either one of them. I do not get to the level of conviction that would cause me to buy them, but I sure as hell wouldn't short them either. Charlie?
Well, I think we can fairly say that other people will always understand those two companies better than we do. We have the reverse of an edge. And we're not looking for that.
Now he's going to say, isn't the same thing true in IBM?
Well, I don't think it is. I think IBM is easier to understand.
Yeah. The chances of being way wrong in IBM are probably less, at least for us, than being way wrong with Google or Apple. But that doesn't mean that the latter two companies aren't going to do, say, far better than IBM. I mean, but we wouldn't have predicted what would happen with Apple 10 years ago. And it's very hard for me to predict, what will happen with the next 10 years. There's certainly, they've come up with these brilliant products. There's other people trying to come up with brilliant products, and I just don't know how to evaluate the people that are out there working either in big companies or in garages that are trying to think of something that will change the world the way they have changed it in recent years.
Didn't they just buy Google like recently? Kind of interesting. Fast forward 13 years later. They could have bought it back then.
Was that a mistake to buy into IBM?
Well, I don't think so, but it could be. I mean, we've owned stocks we've lost money in, and sometimes when stocks go down, we're wrong and we sell them, and sometimes we think we're right, we buy more, and sometimes it turns out we are. I mean, the Washington Post stock, it's not in that list because we disposed of most of it, but we have about 100-for-1 profit in it, but it went down by more than a quarter after we started buying it. So we showed a loss in that, but we kept buying it, and the company bought in its stock, and it all worked out very well. On the other hand, I bought Tesco, it went down, and it kept going down, and I was wrong about the company. If I'm right about the company, the stock will do fine, and I love buying more when they go down as well, and when I think I'm right. And if I'm wrong, you sell them out and take a big loss. And we've done that on a few stocks and bonds over the years. More often, we've made even more money because they went down initially. I mean, Berkshire itself has gone down 50% 3 different times since I've been in control of it. And the first time I was able to keep buying, I had some money left from the partnership, and it went from 90 to 40. And that was terrific. I mean, I was buying it. Some friends of mine didn't think it was so terrific. And that's happened 2 times since then. So a stock going down is a good thing unless the company itself is losing value. And sometimes that's the case and sometimes it isn't. I don't think it's the case with IBM, but I could be wrong.
Damn. That's one of the best advices right there. I think. I don't know. A lot of people are way too focused on short-term price action to probably agree with that, but I think that's probably one of the best pieces of advice you could ever get.
Amazon has been hugely disruptive due to the brilliance of Jeff Bezos, whom Charlie earlier called the business mind of our generation. What is your current outlook on Amazon, and why hasn't Berkshire bought in?
Well, because I was too dumb to realize what was going to happen. Even though I admired Jeff, I've admired him for a long, long time and watched what he was doing, but I did not think that he could succeed on the scale he has, and I certainly didn't even think about the possibility of doing anything with Amazon Web Services or the cloud. So if you'd asked me the chances that while he was building up the retail operation, that he would also be doing something that was disrupting the tech industry, that would have been a very, very long shot for me. And I've really underestimated the brilliance of the execution. I mean, it's one thing to dream about doing this stuff online, but it takes a lot of ability. And you can read his 1997 annual report, and he laid out a roadmap, and he's done it in spades. And if you haven't seen his interview on Charlie Rose 3 or 4 months ago, charlierose.com, go to and listen to it because you'll learn a lot. At least I did. So I just plain, it always looked expensive, and I really never thought that he would be where he is today. I thought he was really brilliant, but I did not think he would be where he is today when I looked at it 3, 5, 8, 12 years ago, whenever it may have been. Charlie, how did you miss it?
It was easy. What was done there was very difficult, and it was not at all obvious that it was all going to work as well as it did. I don't feel any regret about missing out on the achievements of Amazon, but other things were easier, and I think we screwed up a little.
No. We won't pursue that line.
Well, I meant Google.
Well, we missed a lot of things.
Yes.
We missed a lot of things.
And we'll keep doing it.
Yeah. And we'll have a
Luckily, we don't miss everything, Warren. That's our secret. We don't miss them all.
Dude, Charlie's funny. He's funny. Buffett's funny, but Charlie is actually hilarious. Sup, Jeff Jolly? Horrible pickup lines, and he'd be saying some goofy stuff though. Nice. I feel stupid when I talk to girls. I literally talked to some girl today at the gym, and I have zero game. But I also am not interested, honestly. Girls are a hassle.
You have said smartphones are too smart for you. You don't have a computer at your desk. And you've only tweeted 9 times in the last 4 years.
It was either that or going to a monastery.
Despite this, you've recently been investing, looking, and talking more about tech companies. My question to you, and also to Charlie to comment, is what turned you from the Oracle of Omaha to the tech maven of Omaha?
Well, I don't think I would. I don't think I've talked that much about tech companies, but the truth is we made a large investment in IBM. I made a large investment in IBM, which has not turned out that well. We haven't lost money, but in terms of the bull market we've been in, it's been a significant laggard. And then fairly recently, we took a large position in Apple, which I do regard as more of a consumer goods company in terms of certain economic characteristics, although that it has a huge tech component in terms of what that product can do or what other people might come along to do to leapfrog it in some way. But I think I'll end up being, no guarantees, but I think I'll end up being 1 for 2 instead of 0 for 2, but we'll find out. Charlie, I make no pretense whatsoever of being on the intellectual level of some 15-year-old that's got an interest in tech. I think I may have some insights into consumer behavior. I certainly can get a lot of information on consumer behavior and then try to draw inferences about what that means about what consumer behavior is likely to be in the future. But we will find the other thing I'll guarantee is I'll make some mistakes on marketable securities, and I've made them in other areas than tech. So you'll not bat 1,000, no matter what industries you try to stick with. I know insurance pretty well, but I think we probably lost money on an insurance stock, perhaps, once or twice over the years. So you don't bat 1,000. But I have gained no real knowledge about tech in the last, since I was born, actually. Charlie?
I think it's a very good sign that you bought the Apple. It shows either one of two things. Either you've gone crazy or you're learning. I prefer I prefer the learning explanation.
Well, so do I, actually.
Either gone crazy or you're learning. Oh, man. That's how I feel about the GameStop investment, honestly. Oh, man. We'll see, huh? We'll see.
You sold more of your IBM stake and bought more Apple, according to the latest filings that we had seen. And a question came in from Brandon Carroll that said, first of all, why did you?
Well, I was wrong on, at least I felt I was wrong on IBM. Now, I may have been wrong when I sold it to, but I certainly was wrong when I bought it. I felt that Apple has an extraordinary consumer franchise. Apple's a different kind of business than IBM. They're both tech, obviously, in a major way, and they even have a joint venture, on some things. But I think I understand consumer behavior perhaps better than I do the tech business. Wouldn't take much to beat it. And I liked it. I like Tim Cook very much. I like their policies. I see how strong that ecosystem is to an extraordinary degree. I mean, I look at my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and everybody in the office. I mean, their families. I talked to the people at the Furniture Mart. When the 10 hadn't arrived, nobody goes over to buy an Android. I mean, it's you were very, very, very locked in, at least psychologically and mentally, to the product you're using. I mean, you got all kinds of stuff up on there. It's a very sticky product.
That was sort of the same thing you said about IBM when you were first buying it, that corporations that had bought into it, they were kind of stuck with it, that it would be what they were using because it was too hard to get off of a system like that. And by the way, IBM recently just finally showed an increase in revenue for the first time in like 27 quarters.
Well, but it was the foreign exchange went with them, and it was the introduction of a new piece of hardware. I mean, actually, they weren't up, except for those two factors. But the cloud came along, and one of the most extraordinary things I've ever seen in business is when an unrelated type company, a retailer you can call Amazon at that type, goes into another big industry and sees the future in it, gets into it, and then they gave, and Jeff Bezos would say this, he said it on Charlie Rose show sometime ago, he got this amazing runway. I mean, the other players, here are all these 200 IQ people, in that business, and they gave him year after year after year. It wasn't a secret of what he was doing, and he was, in an important way, revolutionizing the industry, and the other people sat on their hands, basically.
Wow.
Huh. 25 minutes, not bad. Not bad. I'll be curious how these do as videos. Obviously, I mean, there's some people here. Try to get some videos up before his retirement on the 31st. I'll be right back real quick, though. I'm back. Almost 1:30. Where is everyone today, man? It's a very quiet stream for how many people are here. Very quiet. Everyone's saving the energy for New Year's, you think? The New Year's? Should we do a New Year stream? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, I'll stream on the 31st and the 1st, because I believe that's Wednesday and Thursday, right? Yeah, I'll stream on those days, but I'm not going to stream at midnight. Oh, Buffett. More Buffett stuff. How many of these are there, actually? Let me see real quick. There's 8, right? So 8 times 30. Or I guess we'll just do. So it'd be like 4 hours of content, basically. About, assuming every single one of these has like 20 to 30 minutes of content. That'll take a minute. We probably won't finish it all today. And then you have fucking, oh my god, I don't know if we'll get to the meetings, but we'll see. Those could be interesting to watch. Could be interesting to watch the evolution of Berkshire go all the way from the 1994 up. It could be interesting. It's just, it's a lot of content. That's like, let's see, 94 to 25. That's like 20, it's like 50, 60 hours of content or something like that. That's fucking insane. That's a lot, bro. That's a lot of content. Then you have all the CNBC interviews. I'm worried about the CNBC interviews, though. I feel like CNBC will try to strike my channel. I'm kind of worried about those. So I don't know if we'll end up watching them. Maybe we'll watch them live on stream, but I don't know if I'll make a video. I'm not sure. Those are tough. Those are going to be tough. Because I just don't want to get a strike on the YouTube. That would be annoying. That would be pretty annoying. Alright. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Alright, start recording.
I know, Mr. Buffett, that you've said that you don't read what other people say about the market or the economy, but do either you or Charlie have an opinion about how you think things are going to go? Are you bullish or bearish?
You may have trouble believing this, but
That is the worst fucking question, and I see it in the stream all the time. Asking someone whether they're bullish or bearish is literally the dumbest question ever. I'm sorry, I'll restart this, but I just had to get that out of the way because that has to be the dumbest question in the stock market, literally. The stock market has only been bullish. You've had moments where, you know, couple year periods or anything like of it going down, but the market has been bullish for ever. So it's literally just a stupid question. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't like that question. I hate that question, actually. All right.
I know, Mr. Buffett, that you've said that you don't read what other people say about the market or the economy, but do either you or Charlie have an opinion about how you think things are going to go? Are you bullish or bearish?
you may have trouble believing this, but Charlie and I never have an opinion about the market because it wouldn't be any good, and it might interfere with the opinions we have that are good. If we're right about a business, if we think a business is attractive, it would be very foolish for us to not take action on that because we thought something about what the market was going to do or anything of that sort, because we just don't know. And to give up something that you do know and that is profitable for something that you don't know and won't know because of that, it just doesn't make any sense to us, and it doesn't really make any difference to us. I mean, I bought my first stock, I think, in probably April of 1942 when I was 11. And since then, I mean, actually World War II didn't look so good at that time. I mean, the prospects, they really didn't. I mean, we were not doing well in the Pacific, and I'm not sure I calculated that into my purchase of my 3 shares. But I mean, just think of all the things that have happened since then, you know, atomic weapons and major wars and presidents resigning and all kinds of things, massive inflation at certain times. To give up what you're doing well because of guesses about what's going to happen in some macro way just doesn't make any sense to us. The best thing that can happen from Berkshire's standpoint, we don't wish this on anybody, but over time, is to have markets that go down a tremendous amount. I mean, we are going to be buyers of things over time. Now, if you're going to be buyers of groceries over time, you like grocery prices to go down. If you're going to be buying cars over time, you like car prices to go down. We buy businesses. We buy pieces of businesses, stocks. And we're going to be much better off if we can buy those things at an attractive price than if we can't. So we don't have any fear at all. I mean, what we fear is an irrational bull market that's sustained for some long period of time. You as shareholders of Berkshire, unless you own your shares on borrowed money or are going to sell them in a very short period of time, are better off if stocks get cheaper, because it means that we can be doing more intelligent things on your behalf than would be the case otherwise. But we have no idea what and we wouldn't care what anybody thought about it. I mean, most of all ourselves. I mean, Charlie, do you have any?
No, I think if you're agnostic about those macro factors and therefore devote all your time to thinking about the individual businesses and the individual opportunities, it's a way more efficient way to behave, at least with our particular talents and lacks thereof.
If you're right about the businesses, you'll end up doing fine. We don't know, and we don't think about when something will happen. We think about what will happen. It's not so difficult to figure out what will happen. It's impossible, in our view, to figure out when it will happen. So we focus on what will happen.
Damn, that was some good advice right there. That was fire. I couldn't have said it better than that. I just think people who are bearish are stupid, personally. That's if I'm just being 100% honest, bearish people are pretty dumb, so that's my answer. I couldn't answer it like that. But I do agree, you know. Everything always goes back to GameStop, but whether the market's bullish or bearish, I'll keep buying GameStop. And if the market is bearish and GameStop drops 50% from here or whatever, maybe the market drops 50%. I don't know. At least GameStop's in a position to take advantage of it financially. So that is a good point. Good point. But yeah, I couldn't get that. I don't like bearish people. I think they're completely wrong all the time, and bearish people tend to get fucked all the time. I've only seen them right a couple times, and it's in moments when nobody's bearish.
In the book Warren Buffett Way, the author describes the capital growth model that you've used to evaluate intrinsic value in common stock purchases. My question is, do you also still use the formula Ben Graham described in The Intelligent Investor that uses evaluating anticipated growth but also book value? It seems to me that fair value is always a bit higher when using Mr. Graham's formula than the stream of cash discounted back to present value that is in Warren Buffett way and also that you've alluded to in annual reports?
Yeah, we've tried to put in the annual report pretty much how we approach securities. And book value is not a consideration, virtually not a consideration at all. The best businesses, by definition, are going to be businesses that earn very high returns on capital employed over time. So by nature, if we want to own good businesses, we're going to own things that have relatively little capital employed compared to our purchase price. That would not have been Ben Graham's approach. But Ben was not working with very large sums of money, and he would not have argued with this approach. He just would have said his was easier. And it is easier, perhaps, when you're working with small amounts of money. My friend Walter Schloss has hewed much more toward the kind of securities that Ben would have selected, but he's worked with smaller amounts of money. He has an absolutely sensational record, and it's not surprising to me at all. I mean, when Walter left Graham, though, I would have expected him to do well. But I don't look at the primary message from our standpoint of Graham really as being in anything to do with formulas. In other words, there's three important aspects to it. One is your attitude toward the stock market. That's covered in Chapter 8 of The Intelligent Investor. I mean, if you've got that attitude toward the market, you start ahead of 99% of all people who are operating in the market, so you have an enormous advantage. Second principle is the margin of safety, which again gives you an enormous edge and actually has applicability far beyond just the investment world. And then the third is just looking at stocks as businesses, which gives you an entirely different view than most people that are in the market. And with those three sort of philosophical benchmarks, the exact evaluation technique you use is not really that important, because you're not going to go way off the track whether you use Walter's approach or Walter Schloss's or mine or whatever.
Yep. These are some good clips right here. These are some good clips. All right.
We think first in terms of business risk. The key to Graham's approach to investing is not thinking of stocks as stocks or part of a stock market. Stocks are part of a business. The people in this room own a piece of a business. If the business does well, they're going to do all right as long as they don't pay way too much to join into that business. So we're thinking about business risk. Now, business risk can arise in various ways. It can arise from the capital structure when somebody sticks a ton of debt into some business, and so that if there's a hiccup in the business, that the lenders foreclose. It can come about just by the nature of the business. Certain businesses are just very risky. Back in when there were more commercial aircraft manufacturers, Charlie and I would think of making a commercial airplane, a big airliner, sort of as a bet your company risk, because you would shove hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars out into the pot before you really had customers. And then if you had a problem with the plane, the company could go. There's certain businesses that inherently, because of long lead times, because of heavy capital investment, that basically have a lot of risk. And commodity businesses have risk unless you're the low-cost producer, because the low-cost producer can put you out of business. Our textile business was not the low-cost producer, and we had a fine management, and everybody worked hard. We had cooperative unions, all kinds of things, but we weren't the low-cost producer, so it was a risky business. The guy who could sell it cheaper than we could made it risky for us. So there's a lot of ways businesses can be risky. We tend to go into businesses that inherently are low risk and are capitalized in a way that low risk of the business is transformed into a low risk for the enterprise. The risk beyond that is that even though you identify such businesses, that you pay too much for them. That risk is usually a risk of time rather than loss of principal, unless you get into a really extravagant situation. But then the risk becomes the risk of you yourself. I mean, whether you can retain your belief in the real fundamentals of the business and not get too concerned about the stock market. The stock market is there to serve you and not to instruct you, and that's a key to owning a good business and getting rid of the risk that would otherwise exist in the market. You mentioned volatility. It doesn't make any difference to us whether the volatility of the stock market, is averages a 0.5% a day or 0.25% of a day or 5% a day. In fact, we'd make a lot more money if volatility was higher because it would create more mistakes in the market. So volatility is a huge plus to the real investor. Ben Graham used the example of Mr. Market, which is we've used it. I've copied it in the report. I copy from all the good writers. And Ben said, just imagine that when you buy a stock that in effect, you've bought into a business where you have this obliging partner who comes around every day and offers you a price at which you'll either buy or sell, and the price is identical. And no one ever gets that in a private business where daily you get a buy-sell offer by a party. But in the stock market, you get it. That's a huge advantage. And it's a bigger advantage if this partner of yours is a heavy-drinking manic depressive. I mean, the crazier he is, the more money you're going to make. So as an investor, you love volatility. Not if you're on margin. But if you're an investor, you aren't on margin. And if you're an investor, you love the idea of wild swings because it means more things are going to get mispriced.
Ah, yes. I agree with that. It's funny because when I first got into the stock market, people always said volatility was bad. People want like stable stuff, like dividend stocks and things like that. So it's interesting hearing from, some of the greatest investors in the world that volatility is actually something you want. Kind of interesting. I don't know.
With Berkshire's size becoming very large, are we to expect major future investments to be in the form of complete buyouts, such as the General Re acquisition, or would you still consider nibbling in the stock market?
Well, we don't want to nibble, but we would like to take big gulps in the stock market from time to time. But we've always wanted to acquire entire businesses. People never seemed to really believe that back when we were buying See's Candy or the Buffalo News or National Indemnity. But that's been our number one preference right along. It's just that we found that much of the time we could get far more for our money in terms of wonderful businesses by buying pieces in the stock market than we could by negotiated purchase. There may be some movement in terms of the availability of the two toward the negotiated purchase, although it's almost impossible to make a wonderful buy in a negotiated purchase. I mean, you will never make the kind of buy in a negotiated purchase that you can in a bad stock, that you can make via stocks in a weak stock market. It just isn't going to happen. The person on the other side cares too much, whereas in the stock market in a 1973 or 4, you were dealing with the marginal seller, and whatever price they established for the business, you could buy at. I couldn't have bought the entire Washington Post company for $80 million in 1974, but I could buy 10% of it from a bunch of people who were just operating, based on calculating betas or doing something of the sort, and they were in a terrible market, and it was possible to buy a piece of it on that valuation. You never get that kind of buy in a negotiated purchase. We always are more interested in large negotiated deals than we are in stock purchases, but we are not going to find a way probably to use all the money that way, and we occasionally may get chances to put big chunks of money into attractive businesses which we buy through the stock market, 5-10% of the company or something of that sort. Charlie?
My guess is over the next 5 years we'll do some of both the entire business and the big gulps in the stock market.
Yeah, I agree with that. We'll keep working at both. We're not finding a lot in either arena. We might be a little more likely to find it in the negotiated business. It won't be any huge bargain. We're not going to get any huge bargain in a negotiated purchase. we are more likely to find what I would call a fair deal there under today's circumstances than we will in the market. But I agree with Charlie. Over the next 5 years, I think you'll see us do both.
That one was pretty interesting. I liked that one. That one's very interesting, actually.
I do think that there's a lot to be said for developing a temperament that can own securities without fretting. I think that the fretful disposition is it's an enemy of long-term performance.
Well, I think it's almost impossible if you're to do well in equities over a period of time. If you go to bed every night thinking about the price of them. I mean, Charlie and we think about the value of them. Yeah, but we would be happy, just as in that movie, if they closed the stock exchange tomorrow. Dick Grasso wouldn't be happy, and Jimmy McGuire, our specialist, wouldn't be happy. It wouldn't bother me and Charlie at all. We would keep selling bricks, selling deli bars, selling candy, writing insurance. A lot of people have private companies and they never get a quote on them. We bought See's Candy in 1972. We haven't had a quote on it since. Does that make us wonder about how we're doing with See's Candy? No, we looked at the company results. So there's nothing wrong with focusing on company results. Focusing on the price of a stock is dynamite, because it really means that you think that the stock market knows more than you do. Now, the stock market may know more than you do, but then you shouldn't be in stocks. I mean, you should have, the stock market is there to serve you and not to instruct you. So you need to formulate your ideas on price and value. And if the price gets cheaper and you have funds, logically you should buy more. And we do that all the time. Where we make our mistakes, frankly, is where we focus on price and value and we start buying and the price goes up a little and we quit. Like Charlie referred to, we might have done on See's Candy. A mistake like that cost us $8 billion in the case of Walmart stock a few years ago, because it went up in price. And we are not happy when things we're buying go up in price. We want them to go down and down and down, and we'll keep buying more. And hopefully we won't run out of money. Of course, that's a different story.
These are bangers. These are bangers, bro. Some of these so-called GameStop investors need to be listening to this shit. These are straight bangers right now. Oh, this one's really good.
Can you expand on where the market's going from here?
Well, I could expand, but I couldn't answer. Charlie and I haven't the faintest idea where the stock market is going to go next week, next month, or next year. We never talk about it. It never comes up. Our directors will tell you that they've never been to a directors meeting where the subject of the direction of the stock market is. We are not in that business. We don't know how to be in that business. Obviously, if we could guess successfully a high percentage of the time where the stock market was going to go, we would do nothing but play the S&P futures market, where there wouldn't be any reason to look at businesses and stocks. So it's just not our game. We don't think, what we see when we look at the stock market is we see thousands and thousands and thousands of companies priced every day, and we ignore 99.9% of what we see, although we run our eyes over them. And then every now and then we see something that looks like it's attractively priced to us as a business. Forget about the word stock. So when we buy a stock, we would be happy with that stock if they told us the market was going to close for a couple of years. We look to the business. It's exactly the same way as if you were going to buy a farm a few miles here outside of Omaha. You would not get a price on it every day, and you wouldn't ask, whether the yield was a little above expectation this year or down a little bit. You'd look at what the farm was going to produce over time. You'd look at the expected yields. You'd look at expected prices, the cost, taxes, the cost of fertilizer, and you would evaluate the intelligence of your purchase based on what the farm produced relative to your purchase price. Quotes would have nothing to do with it. That's exactly the way we look at stocks. We look at them as businesses. We make judgments about what the futures of those businesses will be, and if we're right about that in those judgments, the stocks will take care of themselves.
Yep. Couple more here about stocks. Stonks.
How would you rank the recent market downturn in terms of investing opportunities in stocks during your investment careers?
Well, it's certainly not as dramatic as the 1974 period was. Stocks got much cheaper in 1974 than they are now, but you were also facing a different interest rate scenario, so you could say they really weren't that much cheaper. You could buy very good companies at 4 times earnings or thereabouts with good prospects, but interest rates were far higher then. That was the best period I've ever seen for buying common equities. The country may not have been in as much trouble then as we were back in September. I don't think it was, but stocks were somewhat cheaper then. In the recent period, I bought some equities, and then corporate bonds looked extraordinarily cheap. The spreads were very, very wide, so I bought some of those too. But the cheaper things get, the better I like buying them. I mean, if I was buying hamburgers at McDonald's, the other day for X, and they reduced the price to 90% of X tomorrow, not likely, but if they did, I'm happy. I don't think about what I paid yesterday for the hamburger. I think I'm going to be buying hamburgers the rest of my life, and the cheaper they get, the better I like it. I'm going to be buying investments the rest of my life, and I would much rather pay half of X than X. And the fact that I paid X yesterday doesn't bother me if I get it, as long as I know the value is in the business. So on a personal basis, I like lower prices. I realize that is not the way all of you feel, and that when you wake up in the morning and look at quotes, but it just makes sense that when things are on sale, that you should be more excited about buying them than otherwise. And lately, when I wrote that article, the Times, I did not predict what stocks were going to do, because I never know what they're going to do. But I do know when you're starting to get a lot for your money, and that's when I believe in buying. Charlie?
Well, if stocks go off 40% on average, they're obviously closer to an attractive price than they were before. And of course, interest rates have gone down a lot recently, at least short-term interest rates. It's nothing like 73.4. No. I knew when that happened that was my time and my only time. I knew I was never going to get another trip to the pie counter like that one. Unfortunately, I had practically no money available, which is...
That's why it happens.
That's why those times occur.
Yeah.
So, if I were you, I wouldn't wait for 1973-4.
No, we don't try to pick bottoms, we don't have an opinion about whether the stock market's going to go tomorrow or next week or next month. So to sit around and not do something that's sensible because you think there will be something even more attractive, that's just not our approach to it. Anytime we get a chance to do something that makes sense, we do it. And if it makes even more sense the next day, and if we've got money, we may do more. And if we don't, what can we do about it? So picking bottoms is basically not our game. Pricing is our game, and that's not so difficult. Picking bottoms, I think, is probably impossible. But when you start getting a lot for your money, you buy it. And as I say, after I wrote that, stocks did get cheaper. And anytime we like to do something, we really like to do it. I mean, our idea is not to tiptoe into anything, so we buy them as fast as we can when prices are right.
Yep. One more.
My question is for my children watching at home today and the children in the audience. How should they look at stocks when every day in the media they see companies that have never made a dime in their life go IPO?
You don't have to really worry about what's going on in IPOs or people making money. People win lotteries every day, but there's no reason to have that affect you at all. You shouldn't be jealous about it. I mean, it's great, if they want to do mathematically unsound things, and one of them occasionally gets lucky and they put the one person on television and the million that contributed to the winnings with the big slice taken out for the state,
don't get on there. It's nothing to worry about. Just all you have to do is figure out what makes sense, and you look at buying. When you buy a stock, you get yourself in the mental frame of mind that you're buying a business. And if you don't look at a quote on it for 5 years, that's fine. You don't get a quote on your farm every day or every week or every month. You don't get it on your apartment house if you own one. If you own a McDonald's franchise, you don't get a quote every day. You want to look at your stocks as businesses and think about their performance as businesses. Think about what you pay for them as you would think about buying a business, and let the rest of the world go its own way. You don't want to get into a stupid game just because it's available.
Yeah, well, I think that your children are right to look for people they can trust in dealing with stocks and bonds. Unfortunately, more than half the time, they will fail in a conventional answer. So they really have a hard problem. If you just listen to your elders, they'll lie to you and spread a lot of folly.
But they really have an easy problem.
What?
In the sense that American business as a whole is going to do fine over time. So the only way that they can...
But not the average client of a stockbroker.
Well, we'll get to that later. The stockbroker will do fine.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, but they don't have to do that, and we can talk. Well, I'd rather address that just a little later. But you don't want to worry. You don't want to be. A lot of problems are, Charlie would say, are caused by envy. You don't want to get envious of somebody who's won the lottery or bought an IPO that went up. You have to figure out what makes sense and follow your own course.
All right. Those were some solid advice. There's a whopping 3 people here, so that's cool. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys are doing good. Do we keep it going? Did I read that last thingy? Warren Buffett learned how to look at stocks from his mentor, Benjamin Graham. To Graham and Buffett, they aren't price quotes or lines on a chart. They're slices of a company's profits so far into the future, and that's how they need to be evaluated. Remember us when you get big? It's probably not going to happen. Probably not going to happen. Ugh. The people who are here all the time don't even want to be here, so like it's probably not gonna happen. I appreciate you guys being here though. Let's see. Warren Buffett delivered newspapers as a child. He reads 5 papers every day. He loves them, and for a large time, he loved their reliable profits too. Then the internet came along. We've been streaming for 2 hours. Market just closed. Damn, GameStop got clapped today, son. Got clapped. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Makes sense why there's only a couple people here now. All the bots leave when the market closes, I suppose. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know if I want to keep going on these or not for right now. Still got a few more. When's the 31st? So that's on Wednesday. I did 3 today. So if I do one more, I'll have them all done on the 31st. But 31st is also his retirement day, so we should probably have more for that day. Yeah, I think I'm gonna save the rest of these for tomorrow and Wednesday. We'll watch 3 or 4 tomorrow, and then watch the rest on the retirement day. I think that'll be a good idea. A lot of good info there, though. A lot of good info. And then, like I said, the annual meetings. That's gonna be different. These are so long. Like this one is 2.5 hours for the morning session, and then the afternoon session's probably
Zone 2.
Oh, the afternoon session's only an hour, so 3.5 hours. Every meeting is about 3.5 hours. That's crazy. There's like 20 of them. It's a lot. That's a lot of content. Yeah, we'll chill on that for now. Is there anything to look at before we go? I don't think there's any earnings or anything anytime soon. Constellation Brands on Wednesday. Oh wait, Applied Digital. That's a really good one if I remember right. I think that was one of our biggest streams, if I'm not mistaken. And it's still up quite a bit, so that should be a good one to stream about. That's next week. Then you have Weed Stock. Don't you have Tilray? Doesn't Tilray report sometime soon? Thursday? Yeah, then you got Tilray on Thursday. That should be pretty hyped just because of that stupid thing. Changing it to a Schedule 1. For some reason that got people excited about weed stocks again, which doesn't make any sense, but that's the world we live in, I guess. That's the world we live in, I suppose. Do they have any for the upcoming week? Then you got banks the middle of January. Potentially Taiwan Semiconductor. So there'll be some stuff to stream about going forward. That's always nice. That's always nice. FOMC minutes tomorrow. Schedule 1's the name of a PC game. It's a game about selling. I've seen that game. It's actually a kind of interesting game. I haven't played it, but I've just seen the gameplay of it. It was really popular when it first came out. Like, everyone was playing it. Still can't believe Tim Cook bought Nike. That still is so interesting to me. And it's only gone up since then. Nothing there. The short interest updated, but I can't remember what it was at. I think it went up, though. Because I think it was at 16.2. And now it's at 16.6. I don't remember, though. Then crypto doesn't move anymore. Although it was up on Sunday. You're up a decent amount on Sunday. But you're just flat on 87. Been flat for the whole, well, yeah, pretty much the whole month. You've been pretty much flat. Couple up days. And it's kind of, the trend's kind of bearish, the shorter term trend. Pretty interesting. You still haven't hit a lower low that yet here, though. You need to see 84K, 83K. Potentially, if you're trying to look for like a more medium term trend, you'd want to see below 75K for a bearish trend there. But overall, it's pretty flat. Silver hit 80. I think it sold off though. I think today was a big sell-off day for metals, if I'm not mistaken. What's up, Hugh G? Hope you had a good Christmas, bro. Hope you had a good Christmas. Christmas! Nothing there. Strategy buys more Bitcoin. Not very exciting. Popeyes launches streamer meals. What the hell? I'd buy the extra Emily meal, bro. She's funny. That's an interesting collaboration, I suppose. Man ruptures stomach drinking celebrity chef's liquid nitrogen cocktail. That's terrifying. There's a video of it too. Oh, this guy's cooked. Oh, it's like instantaneous, bro. Oh, that was bad. I shouldn't have watched that. Next gen consoles could be delayed as RAM shortages drive up costs. Damn. 30-year-old cat? Holy. Over 20% of YouTube is AI slop now. Chicago Bears fan goes viral with 157 tattoos of players and coaches' signatures. That's pretty interesting. Wait, is Beast Game Season 2 out? When does this come out? Starbucks. When does Beast Games 2 come out? It doesn't say here. Beast Games 2 release. January 7th? Oh, hell yeah. That's dope. That's dope. Me and my girl bought a DeLorean Lego set as our gift. Oh, I've seen that. First time building a Lego. That's awesome, bro. That's fun. What's up, Afghan Battle Rat? Been a while. Hope you're doing good. Why is everyone coming in here when I'm about to leave? Everyone's piling in when I'm about to leave. It's funny. I hope you guys all had a good Christmas, though. Hope y'all had a good Christmas. Quite a bit of news. A lot of gaming news. Nothing really. Mr. Beast's 1,000-player Minecraft video under fire as boys allegedly invade girls' team. I haven't watched that video, so I don't know. Okay. I want the Infinity Gauntlet Lego. I've never seen that. That sounds sick. I've seen the DeLorean one, though. Oh, that's kind of cool. I was expecting it to be bigger. But that's kind of cool. It's huge. Oh, it just looks small in the picture, I suppose. They want what they can't have. Don't we all? Don't we all want what we can't have? Automatic pizza vending machine in Detroit Airport. Oh, that's tight. A pizza vending machine. Everything looks smaller in picture. That's fair. That's fair. It just looked like a desk-sized thing. I don't know. I didn't really look too much at it. I just looked at a couple pictures that popped up. Rainbow Six Siege servers are back. I guess there was a hack on Rainbow Six that gave people like billions of R6 credits or something like that. Kind of interesting. But I am gonna get out of here in a second, unless you guys got something to talk about. Stream's been so slow. Stream is weird, bro. Stream is weird. It's like we'll have moments where there's a lot of people here every day and it's like doing well, and then it goes into days like today where literally nobody's here and the chat's like dead. The stream is weird. I figured there'd be more people here because the stock's down. Everyone likes to come in and talk shit, but maybe they're finally realizing that I don't care about the stock price. I don't know. I don't know. I've seen gold and silver crushing all-time highs, knowing Ryan Cohen's probably salivating, getting ready to smash the buy button. I hope not. That'd be a terrible investment. At least Bitcoin has like some sort of utility. Gold and silver, I find that to be like the most useless investment. Honestly, if you're looking at it from like a realistic perspective, it's showing you that big money doesn't really believe in the stock market and they don't want bonds. So they're buying metals. They don't want crypto either, obviously. A lot of rotation into metals. Could also be from inflation. There's a lot of factors, but you're just seeing where money's putting, you're just seeing where the money's going, realistically. Why is it going to metals? Couldn't tell you. Usually it means people are scared. But ultimately, who knows? Ultimately, who knows? It's fucking cold, bro. I think it was below freezing today. But oh, it's 34, nice. It was like 25 degrees earlier. Alright, I'm out of here. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for always supporting the stream, the people who are always here. Thank you to the people who stop in and say what's up. I appreciate you. I appreciate anyone who supports the stream. Thank you guys, for real. Whether there's, a couple people here, 10, 20, I don't know. It's nice to have people here, no matter if I start the stream or not. It's great. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you. I hope you had a good Christmas. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for some more Warren Buffett watching. We got a few more things. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.